All right, let's get started. Got a lot of great programming today, so we're trying to keep things on track. Again, Kristen here, leading this track for today. All right, well, we've got a really great session on AR and VR case studies in CRM applications. And it's a joint speaker with both Barton and Tim joining us. So just a little bit about our speakers before I hand the baton to them. Barton Goldenberg is the founder and president of ISM Inc., where since 1985 he has designed and implemented customer strategies in the areas of sales, marketing, and customer service. His extensive work in these areas led him to his selection as one of the first 3 inductees in the CRM Hall of Fame. Awesome. And is detailed in his 3 best-selling business books, countless articles, and hundreds of keynote speeches, which is great. And then joining with him is Mr Bajarin. Tim is the president of Creative Strategies and recognized as one of the leading industry consultants, analysts, and futurists covering the field of personal computers and consumer technology. His writing and analysis have been at the forefront of the digital revolution, and he's authored major industry studies on PC, portable computing, pen-based computing, desktop publishing, multimedia computing, and the digital home, featured in USA Today, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, among others. So please welcome them, and they'll have their talk, and then there'll be the Q&A. Make sure you go up to the mic for that portion. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Well, good morning, and welcome to our session. On behalf of Tim and myself, we're delighted to be here. We all know how important VR, XR, and AR is, and its growth over the next decade. But when you really begin to go into the covers and look at just how large it is, this tenfold growth over the next 10 years, you begin to appreciate what is going to happen in the way we buy, sell, and the way we service our customers, and the way we market to our customers. The 3 largest areas for VR, XR, and AR in the next decade should be sales, marketing, and customer service, that's 1, field service, that's 2, and training and education, that's 3. Today we're going to talk and focus on sales, marketing, and customer service. By way of introduction, my name is Bart Goldenberg. She's done a splendid job in introducing me. I've been around for a while, and I think that for me, I got into the AR and VR and XR business a couple of years ago as a natural extension to how companies are going to sell, market, and service their customers as they move forward, and the need to come up with a holistic approach to how we're going to use this technology to drive both customer experience as well as customer engagement in the future. And I've had the pleasure of working over the last 36 years with some of the world's greatest companies. And that's just a testament to how wonderful some companies are in trying to be at the leading edge of using technology effectively. I'm going to now turn it over to Tim.
Thanks, Barton. This particular slide I find quite interesting from Barton's standpoint. I've had the privilege of working with Barton for about 25 years. He and I ran one of the largest CRM shows together in the late 90s and most of the 2000s. And Barton actually is one of the great authorities on CRM. Besides writing books on it, he's the guy that went in and helped these companies build their CRM programs. He helped them build the background and the framework for customer service, sales, and marketing. So he's really got a great deal of experience in that. As I said, I'm with Creative Strategies. I've been a consultant since '81, and I've worked with almost all the major PC companies. Got to work with Apple in the early days, Microsoft in the early days. So I've been around. And I have also, with Barton, we've looked at the area AR and VR. I actually started looking at VR when I met Jared Lanier in the 90s. And he absolutely convinced me that this is one of the great opportunities of the future. He thought it would come a lot sooner than where we are today. But he clearly is one of the fathers of what we would call VR. So VR and AR in the enterprise is very interesting for one very big thing. I know that this, at the conference, I've been listening to all of the various speeches, but what you've seen really is mostly B2C. We've been talking about how we build the metaverse for the consumer. But I'm going to tell you, the money is in the enterprise. The money is where you're actually going to see a lot of the money being made, at least over the next 5 years, as companies begin to think about AR and VR and how it could help them be more efficient in what they do with sales, service, and marketing. Now, this particular slide is interesting in the sense that what we have done over with Barton at ISM Guide is we've looked at the entire area of how this could impact enterprise. And what shocked us is we saw already over 100, 120 examples of how it's being used in things like field service, customer service, marketing, sales, manufacturing, and training. One real interesting example for training is that Walmart has spent millions of dollars on VR headsets to train their associates when they come in. So when a Walmart employee comes in, they come to a center, put on the headset, and they are onboarded through that. And one of the some of the people who've gone through that experience with Walmart become so hooked on VR, they go out and buy Oculus or something, afterwards. But what and I'll put this up here, you should take a look at and take a picture of this if you can, or remember the term. We have created an ISM guide, an actual online resource center, where we have populated over 120 case studies just on VR, AR, and field service, training, etc. And we give actual examples. Some of them include the Harvard study on this. But I'm telling you, when I was in the last session, they were talking about what it's going to be like in 2030. I'm telling you, besides how it's being used like the Procters & Gamble's and others and things that you've seen today, the reality is where the real money is going to be made in the next 4 years is helping the actual enterprise customers integrate this kind of technology into what they're doing in their business practices. Not just consumer, but B2B and internally. So now I'm going to turn it over to Barton, and he's going to go through some of these case studies that we have listed and then tell you a little bit more about how we as a group have been studying this and are totally convinced that one of the real big opportunities is not just B2C, but also B2B.
Thank you, Tim. Tim is a luminary in Silicon Valley and a friend of mine for many years, and it's a great pleasure to work with Tim. He's made a very important statement. It's not about applying AR, VR, XR to the consumer only. That's critical. It's also an understanding of readying the mindset of the executive teams to use this technology as a part of how they do business. We call it about end-to-end thinking, from how they do logistics to how they actually manufacture something to how do they put it out in their marketing, sell, and after service. So with that in mind, I want to make a couple of observations on case studies. And I have to say, I have really been very happy at this conference, and I hope you have as well, with some tremendous stories and tremendous keynotes throughout the last couple of days. John Hankey's AR and XR vision yesterday from Nantech, just really exciting. But then the case studies on the B2C side. I presume you saw the 7 Ravens augmented reality storybook story. Or example, it was a wonderful story of how to take a kid and make life real with the figures coming alive as they read the book. The Mayo Clinic was a wonderful story of how they're using to train and to educate their medical professionals. The Bmw Virtual Reality story here in this room yesterday, very, very interesting in some of the work that they're doing. The Procter & Gamble I think they called it Life Lab. Again, at the beginning of a large global corporation beginning to see. And you saw the end of it, the customer coming into the virtual world, but there was a huge amount of work to get all that done, in the whole end-to-end process. And then the wine, if you were here late last night, the Wine 19 Crimes story, if you saw that, and how they're using the various augmented reality. And then even the Tennessee Titans story last night of how they did the mural to keep people interested in the football team. So these are all B2C stories. Tim made the point, there's a B2B world, a B2C world, and an increasingly B2B2C world. And I did a little research last night before I prepared for today. The B2B world is twice as large as the B2C world in terms of dollars and cents on the commerce side. So we have to look at and think about what is AR, VR, XR going to be for the B2B world as much as the B2C world, and I'm going to give you a couple of B2B examples as a consequence. Okay, the first one I wanted to tee up is Warby Parker. It's a short, these I'm going to give you 4 videos. It's a short video, how they're using AR, and the most important point in all these videos is how are they integrating AR, VR, XR directly into their sales offering, or into their marketing approach, or into their customer service offering. And I think they're doing a wonderful job. And if you will, kind enough, Dennis, let's cue up the video.
I love this Warby Parker virtual try-on app.
This looks so realistic.
This is so fun that you can try on the glasses.
Like they're actually on me now. It's like I actually have them on my face.
I'm obsessed.
Okay, so that's the Warby Parker, and that's just an example of them using AR and building it right into the glasses. And I can tell you, my wife just bought 2 Warby Parker glasses because she went onto this and just loved it and tried them on. And so they've built that right into the offering. It's glasses plus an ability to buy it super easy. And in this whole retail world, 40% of customers in a recent survey said they'd be willing to pay more for a product if they could experience it through augmented reality. The figure went up to 61% prefer to shop at stores that offer AR versus those that don't. And an even whopping 71% said they'd shop at a retail more often if they offered augmented reality. My takeaway is very simple. Any retailer without an augmented strategy is doomed for failure over the next decade. It's very simple for me. Okay, let's turn to a augmented reality B2B example, and this is of a company that has built, in this case, Microsoft Layout augmented reality app directly into the machine that they're offering. So here's a company that sells machinery, heavy machinery, but has used the AR as a tool to help in the sales process. Could you cue up that video, please?
With HoloLens, you can work with high-quality 3D holograms integrated into your space. With Microsoft Layout, you have the tools you need to design and review in context and find new solutions that give you confidence before you commit. Transform your layout in moments with precision and speed.
Okay, so another great example of integrating the AR, in this case, in helping to sell a machine. Think about it. If you're selling against competition that doesn't offer that and says, my machine will fit great, you don't have to worry about it, versus this. Those are 2 sales examples. Warby Parker, and in this case, the machinery. Let's move on to marketing for a minute. And what I'd like to know is to cue up a video where we're going to look at how Lockheed Martin is using XR to help in the whole marketing efforts to NASA and the space agencies. Dennis, let's cue up the video.
So imagine, you're crawling inside a spacecraft and you're trying to do the work. The last thing you need is to have to carry paper or tablets or laptops into the environment. Being able to have the data readily available without having to hold on to anything is significant. I'm Shelley Peterson. My role is Principal Investigator for Augmented and Mixed Reality at Lockheed Martin. We work with Orion, which is NASA's spacecraft that will take astronauts out to the moon and even into deeper space, such as Mars. On the Orion spacecraft, there's 57,000 fasteners. And normally the technicians would have to measure to know where to place those fasteners. With mixed reality, they put on the device, they see the digital version of the fastener hovering over the surface, they know exactly where to place it. When we do this, we save about 90% of the touch labor. We take an 8-hour activity of marking locations, and they finish it in 45 minutes. Or an 8-shift activity they can complete in 6 hours. It also reduces the potential for errors because the instruction is just so clear when they see it overlaid on the structure in front of them. Over the last 2+ years that we've used the HoloLens on the shop floor, we haven't had one error, and that's significant. It's just pretty powerful. It takes what we think of as a laptop or computing to the next level. Feels like magic.
Yeah, it feels like magic, I agree.
Barton, one thing she said, the definition of her job role was really interesting. She was the AR, VR investigator for Lockheed Martin.
Principal investigator on top of it. Let's turn now to the customer service side. And here I'm going to queue up a video where you'll see how our company is providing remote assistance to a machine on the factory floor. Dennis, let's run the video.
This is a new vision for work. Now employees can work smarter and bring in the people they need with just a tap. They can troubleshoot, repair, and perform with confidence and speed. They can move freely, pull critical information into view, and stay focused on the task. Their hands free to do the work. This is collaborative problem solving at full speed. Your people, united across time and distance, more connected, more informed, and more efficient. Now employees can work together from anywhere. They can go there without being there. This isn't the future. This is here and now.
Okay, so those are 3 examples of sales, marketing, and customer service. On the service side, I just gave a recent study that came out, 17% decrease in technician dispatch with AR remote assist. And for those that are in the industry, the cost of sending a technician out is rather high. And also, incredible figure of 20% increase in first call resolution. So if you're in a call center and you can resolve the call in the first attempt, it's an amazing statistic. So let me conclude my piece before we open to Q&A with a couple of observations. Tim already laid out the fact that many of the case studies we've seen, at least at AEW 2021 so far, have emphasized B2C. And I've already talked about the importance of B2B, double the size of B2C, that B2B is somewhat nascent, though, to XR, AR, and VR, but it's a very lucrative market. Applying AR, VR, and XR to CRM applications, which in my mind is sales, marketing, and customer service, is key to B2B and also B2B2C growth. So I thought about this last night as how the importance of the observations I've made so far. That's one of them, that it's as much about B2B as it is B2C, and what Tim said earlier, it's as much about an enterprise way of thinking as to how the enterprise implements XR, VR, AR as they move forward, as it is the consumer. But I will tell you that our customers favor a structured approach in how we're going to implement AR, XR, and VR in their sales, marketing, and customer service. And last week I submitted an article for CRM Magazine. I think it was titled The 8 Steps to Successfully Implement VR, XR, AR in Sales, Marketing, and Customer Service. I just want to share one of the steps that I talked about, and that is the importance of creating an AR, VR, XR strategy. And what I said is you create that strategy to explain how you'll be integrating AR, XR, and VR technology into your products and services. And just as we heard Catherine Henry tell us this morning, to know which customer segments you're going to apply that to and over what time frame. And what will happen is your strategy, together with the roadmap and the business case you're going to use, will help you and help your customers with their experience and their engagement. It'll make customers find it easier to do business with you, help create those memorable digital experiences that they expect, and drive new customer revenues and lower support costs. So if you wanted to learn more about what Tim and I are trying to do, he's already mentioned that we have this resource center with 120 odd cases. But Tim is a tremendous writer for many magazines and various other outfits, as am I. We just pulled out 2 articles. This should be digital at some point. And you can click on those. One takes it to an article I wrote on the game changer for sales and marketing. Tim's really talks about the value add in field service. But they're both interesting. I'd like to just go out to the Resource Center for one quick second, Dennis, and let's just show them what they would hit if they came to it. If you'll click on the final one, there we go. I know we had to bring a second screen across. So that's the Resource Center. And what you do is you scan down it, and there's by industry, all examples of marketing and sales or field service or training or manufacturing. Whatever your business is in, there's articles, there's videos, there's blogs, there's all kinds of interesting things that are in there. Thank you, Dennis. So if it's helpful, what Tim and I are working with our customers on are a couple of things. One, the executive briefing, just to come in and talk about and demystify XR, AR, and VR when it comes to executive teams that often are baffled by what all this means. We also are helping with actually creation of the strategy, the development of the strategy, and then the implementation using a lot of partners on the technology front, partner front, et cetera. We're also very keen on pilots and the ability now to help our customers create the pilots and implement the pilots. Also on this whole area of VR, XR, and AR advisory service to help develop your XR, VR, and AR roadmap. And also if those of you are into already launched some sort of AR, XR, and VR program to come in and do a health check. So I'd ask you to keep up the dialogue. There's some information about myself and also some information about Tim. And I'd like to open it now to question and answer.
I will point out one other aspect that is really important to think about is how fast the ROI gets handled on it. So for example, a company might buy a $1,700 headset for field service agents. Number one, they don't even balk at that price. To them, that's a basic, easy cost structure. And in discussions we've had with some of the companies that have used this, they tell us that they've been able to fill back the ROI on that and pay that back within 2 or 3 visits alone. So the process and the money's there in enterprise, and they're willing to spend a significant amount of money even in pilots and testing this out. What Barton just said, though, is really important. What we're seeing is incredible confusion at the CFO, CEO, CMO level in the sense of even what is VR, AR, et cetera. And it's been an interesting thing in talking to some of the corporate accounts that we've worked with and are working with, and that how they are viewing this right now is kind of like, maybe we should do something, but we really need to know what to do. And that's where we've been coming in and helping with them with a lot of this stuff. But I got to tell you that when you actually present this to them in a concise way, they understand how fast they can get the ROI in. And the other thing that really is interesting to them, competitive advantage. If they do this ahead of their customers and they go and present this, like the one that where they had the manufacturing facility where they were showing the models of what could fit in the manufacturing facilities, you can see a very big interest rate jump up. Yes, sir.
Thank you. That was great. You talked about reaching business leaders just now about AR, VR, CRM strategies. I wanted to know what work is being done to work with higher education institutions to prepare business students and the future technologists to prepare themselves for. So 2 things. One, many of the some of the larger schools that have engineering programs already have some pretty good AR, VR labs inside the schools themselves. And they are using it as a part of the teaching process, right? So Barton mentioned the one that was the Mayo Clinic yesterday. So the Mayo Clinic has actually put in an entire AR, VR training center to actually train surgeons, which, by the way, I think is a great idea to practice on an avatar or not me, you know. But the education world is actually jumping on this. And the bigger engineering schools who actually are working on this are leading the edge on it. It has not infiltrated
across all education systems at the moment. And that's a big issue that we as an industry have got to deal with. This particular show, if I was going to make a recommendation for next year, is that they would have a track on just training and education.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Yeah.
I'd further that, by the way, that Johnson & Johnson has put in a very extensive training capability for their AR efforts. I'd tell you that I teach a lot at universities, and the University of California, Davis has a course, and it's a senior, it's a executive MBA program, and they're using one of my books, but I don't really refer to the book, I really talk about this, but we're not penetrated where we need to be. That's the bottom line.
Okay, great. I'll chat with you after.
By the way, I'll just make one closing comment. We've got 5 seconds. You know, this reminds me, Tim, and Tim and I are together for 30 years as friends. This reminds me of CRM in the 1990s. There were lots of great efforts going on. You know, some were successful, some not so successful. And it really wasn't pulled together as an industry where we were approaching the enterprise to see the value, in that case, of CRM. Today it's a fait accompli, but this is where we are in this industry, and I think it's repeatable. I think we just have to continue to educate, get the enterprise, continue with success stories, and boy, what a road we're on as we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Barton, Tim, and really great insights. I really especially like thinking about it from a very strategic standpoint. Just on the B2B standpoint, thinking about the UX is really critical, just as much so as we think about it on the B2C side. So let's give maybe about a minute. We'll get our next speaker up. Just as a friendly reminder, the coffee station is still available, but please stay put for our next speaker. And give me maybe about a minute or so. We'll get started. Thanks, everyone.